Welcome to the Neutral Podcast, where we discuss paving the way to a sustainable tomorrow. I'm Nate Helbach, your host, founder, and CEO of the Neutral Project, a sustainable real estate development company. Join us each week as we host world-renowned guests and explore dynamic landscapes of real estate development, alternative investing, sustainability, forestry, urbanism, and new cutting-edge carbon-neutral construction materials that are shaping the cities of tomorrow. Welcome back to the Neutral Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today we have Peter Kraus from PK Fitness, who is a local Madisonian. That's why we're changing it up, and we have our local podcast in our beautiful little studio in downtown Madison. So welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We have some exciting news that we're going to get into later on in the podcast about what Peter is going to be doing for Neutral. But before we get there, do you want to just give us a little background on yourself and how you got to where you are?
Yeah. First thing is being in Madison. I was born and raised here in Madison. Lived here till I was about 20, 21. Moved to Chicago to pursue a modeling career. At the time, wasn't into fitness. I just started working out maybe a couple of years before that. And through modeling, I've found a desire for exercise. So that's where I'm at now, pretty much all started. Moved to Germany for a period of time, moved to Greece for a period of time. In that process, I developed, which maybe some people find as an overshare. I developed an eating disorder through my modeling career. Basically, didn't have a six-pack, couldn't figure out why, and I thought that was the way to do it. So I developed some very unhealthy eating habits, started smoking cigarettes, just not going on the right path. And I knew something was wrong because my health was just not feeling it was 100%. So at the age of 21, maybe 22 even at this point, I enrolled in the dietetics program here in Madison. So I went to school for dietetics, clinical nutrition. And while in school for clinical nutrition, met some really great guys that were in the fitness realm already. One of them ran a program here in Madison at Anytime Fitness. They were like a third-party training program within Anytime Fitness. And I took over for one of them for a couple weeks while I was on vacation, fell in love with it, and that's where it all began. So I started personal training at that point, quickly moved up the chain, kept modeling, moved back to Chicago, and then to Los Angeles. And while in Los Angeles, I started my first in-home personal training business. And that's where what was originally called Worth Personal Training, and then eventually became Peter Kraus Fitness, all started. And that was in 2014. I really started like full head of steam.
And that was in LA.
I was in Los Angeles, yeah. So I drove back to Madison. Yeah, that was a good idea. Yeah, so I had done 2 Ironmans throughout that whole process here in Madison.
Oh, wow.
And during my training for the third, I was living in Los Angeles. Knew I was going to be coming back to do the race, was not liking Los Angeles at all. I was acting and modeling at the time. It was going well enough, but I was just not passionate about it. It wasn't where my life was meant to go. But fitness was always my passion. As soon as I started it, I fell in love with it. So coming back to Madison to do the Ironman, I had to truck everything back. It's like I either ship it all back for thousands of dollars, my bike, my equipment, everything, and then ship it all back again, or I just move back, at least for a period of time, and then go from there. And so I decided in 2014, upon coming back for Ironman, to just set up shop again here in Madison. Started my in-home personal training business that year. Within the first year, is in $110,000 in sales. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I can make this work. So I hired out a couple of the trainers. We all went in people's homes, did personal training that way, and then continued on. So I went on to television for a period of time. That garnered a lot of attention. My Instagram blew up. I got over 500,000 followers within a few months, and started doing boot camps all around the country to take advantage of that. So I would call wedding venues and say, I have anywhere from 200 to 500 young women, mostly single, coming to my fitness class. You have a wedding venue. Can I use your auditorium in exchange for free publicity? And so I won't pay you, but you won't have to pay to advertise to all these people. And so it was a perfect, harmonious relationship. I go into these places like Boston, New York, Philadelphia, where else? Chicago suburbs. I was just bouncing all over the country, places in Pennsylvania, and doing a 1 or 2 day boot camp. Sometimes 500 women would show up for this thing, $45 a pop. I was just bringing in money quick and putting it away, knowing at some point I would want to expand my business here at home into a gym.
And that was all derived from the publicity you got on The Bachelor?
Yeah. So yeah, television, I went on The Bachelorette in 2017 and finished runner-up. That is what I got all the attention from. And I knew that after doing one boot camp here in Madison just for fun, and 450 people showed up the very first time with like 2 weeks of advertising, I was like, oh shit, I could do this. Like,
Yeah.
Let's go do this on a bigger scale. And after the first year of doing it, all the corporate sponsors started coming in. So rather than charging all the fees myself and doing all of it myself, they would set it up. They would pay me a flat fee, and then they would give out boot camps for free as advertising to their anywhere from 500 to 600 people per class.
Wow.
And that's when I started doing, I did like every major arena on the circuit. I was on Dodgers Field twice, and it was Peter Kraus Fitness on Dodgers Field. It was nothing else. It's just me. It was super cool. I went to Oklahoma City. I went into San Antonio, Dallas, Cincinnati Reds field, LSU's field, all sorts of places. Yeah,
That's great.
really, really cool. So then with all that, I had started to create a nest egg for myself, thinking, all right, I'll be able to open a gym at some point and potentially, focus on that for 2 to 3 years without the added income of all these boot camps. I was working with you at the time at Camps Fitness. Yeah, it's for fun. Like, I didn't need the money. It was just at that time, it was fun during the week, keep me hot and fresh, teaching these classes. You got paid like $45. It was terrible. It was so bad. And I was selling out every class here. That was like 2 to 3 a day, 45 girls a pop, paying $20 per session. And I saw $45 of it. So I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And you came at the perfect time. And it was with T-Wall saying there was a property available. You guys wanted to put in a fitness space. You knew I wanted to open up my own space.
Yeah.
And we walked the grounds. I loved it. You wanted to give me, I think, like 2,000 square feet. I ended up taking almost 3,500.
Yeah.
And we opened the first one in 2019. Well, then that's how it all kind of like, got to that point. Crazy.
Yeah. So you moved back from LA in 2017.
Yeah. No, sorry, 2014.
2014.
Yeah. We went on the show in 2017.
Went on the show okay, gotcha. So moved back from LA 2014.
Yeah.
Went on the show in 2017.
Yeah.
That must have been, then you started working for camps in like what?
So I helped them open it in 2016.
Or 20, yeah.
Yeah, it was end of 2016.
Yeah, you were there right when I started, which was like end of 2016.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And I went away for 3 months.
And then you came back.
And then I came back, yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, you did this big, I remember you going through like that whole circuit of boot camps.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Which is great.
It was so cool.
Yeah. Cash cow.
It was so dope.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how the business model with like teaming up with the wedding venues came to mind, but I knew I needed spaces that already had equipment set up. And I had been to a wedding recently that had the sound system obviously integrated into the building. And so I could just plug in my headphone jack. I bought a headphone receiver and a headpiece for $450, let's say. And I just go from place to place and plug it into theirs and be good to go.
Yeah.
Rather than I had a friend of the family who had their own event company here in town for races. And they were charging thousands of dollars to rent their sound systems.
Yeah.
They come and set it all up. You had to have a DJ phone on the mixer and all that. Like,
Yeah.
how do we keep this as simple as possible?
Yeah.
So yeah, it worked out really well.
And then, so after that, that's kind of when, did you always have this idea of like, hey, PK Fit could be a gym? It could be something bigger than just in-home training? Or was it always like, hey, I kind of want to do in-home training and grow that business?
When I first started working out, I knew right away I wanted to make it my own business at some point. I've never really enjoyed working for other people. Yeah, as terrible as it sounds. I love working with other people, but I like the freedom. I'm an artist at heart. I've always been into art, and that's just the freedom of creativity. And what I like most about what I'm doing now is the creative aspect of it. I love designing the gyms, developing the plans and programs, the lifestyles. All that to me is art. And so the freedom of it's really exciting. And right away in fitness, I knew I wanted to create my own gym, but I wanted to be associated with a nutritional aspect, knowing that's where my background was. So there was going to be like a small 2,500 square foot gym, let's say, and then another maybe 1,500 to 2,000 square foot grocery store, I guess you would call it, like health food store.
Mm-hmm.
Not supplement store, just health food store.
Like Air One.
Probably, but a much smaller version of it with very select ingredients. And then our staff, our like on-staff dietitians, would go through that store with you and help you pick out the foods that would be on your diet plan. then you would then leave all the way.
Oh, cool.
The food waste is like it's expensive.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort and tracking. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be like where I retire is with that little bit.
Yeah.
But for now, it's more like, okay, I see the ease and the benefit and the ability to expand quickly with the 24-hour model that we're doing now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where the business model led you to that version. There is the kind of hierarchical, if you're in an ivory tower, it would be nice to have a fitness center with a nutritional store.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Sounds like something that should happen.
That can be right next to my surf shop, and then we could retire. Because that's my,
I would love it.
It's just like a little surf shop. And then, yeah.
So your hobby was out of it. That'd be great.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, so like the original plan was that when you came to me with the opening of this space,
Yeah. In Middleton Center, a reference of where that is. So downtown Middleton, right, kind of where you see all that gentrification in downtown. If you're from Madison, if you're not, it's a suburb of Madison.
it's a beautiful space, completely redone in the last, now it's like 7 years. So it's like 2 years prior to my gym getting there. I had just been rebuilt. I was the first occupant of the new building that went up at that time.
Yeah.
And for the next like 4 years, there's just constant construction. Finally, it's done, and we can actually feel like we're settled in at that point. But that was my original business model that I created at that point. It was 24-hour access fitness, very general fitness type of equipment, not a lot of single-use equipment because we needed to be efficient in the amount of space because it wasn't very large. Although I had a small budget, I was paying for it cash out of my own pocket. So I bought, $125,000 in equipment out of my own pocket. Wanted to keep my bills as low as possible. I didn't want to lease anything if I could avoid it. And it was just supposed to be a competitor to Anytime Fitness, pretty much at some point. And then 9 months into it, or 11 months into it, we hit the pandemic, and my doors were closed, and I was still paying my bills, and everybody was canceling the memberships. The classes stopped. My boot camps that were making me tens of thousands of dollars every couple of weeks were gone, like just done overnight. So I went from cash flow gym open to like cash zero and doors closed and bills still coming in. And that's where my business model changed. Like I had to get scrappy. I had to think on my feet and say, how can I, one, maintain the cash flow of this gym? Like how can I support this gym? And then how can I still fulfill my dreams of expanding without having to wait 7 to 10 years to get back on my feet to do it? And that's when I realized apartment complexes. And that became the new venture, pretty much.
And so just backing up, you started the first Peter Kraus Fitness in 2019.
Yep.
And then pandemic hits in 2020.
Yeah, so
Terrible luck.
March of 2020, we shut our doors
And
for 4 months.
and you shut it completely.
Yeah.
Everything shut down.
Yeah, completely.
Wow.
We did virtual classes to start. We had like 200 some people at the very first class, and it was a 4-week program. And by the third program of that, we were down to like 40. And then when we were like continuing out, we ended up taking that for over a year. And finally, after a year, like a month or 2 months, whatever it was, we were down to like 10 people. Like this is just a waste of time.
Yeah.
I had backed out of it at that point. I just had my staff doing it. It was across the board. People were spawning off all these virtual programs.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's so many people getting out free programs that it was so hard to sell it. And then we're like being inundated with ads on Instagram for all these really big names and stuff doing it. And it just got to be too much.
So you reopened your doors in June or July of 2020?
Yeah, I think it was end of June of 2020.
And then did you see sales start to go back up, or was it flat for a while?
There was no like initial jump. I would say because we opened in summer, that didn't help anything. Summer months, if you're not in Wisconsin, you probably don't know that in the summer months, the gyms clear out. They're pretty much the only people we have still in the gyms are those who are there all the time.
Yeah.
The people who are there for like just kind of general fitness, maybe don't know a lot, are kind of uncomfortable. It's not like their first priority. They clear out, they go outside.
Yeah. Biking, running.
Yeah. Well, they're just active outdoors, which is great. And I don't blame people at all. I maintain my fitness program throughout the year, but then add those things to it.
Yeah.
But the gyms overall get pretty empty. Sales always go down. The influx of people goes down. That's like the number one thing in fitness. Like, how do I change that? Like, what can I do in my gym to change that pattern?
Mm-hmm.
But so we opened back up. There wasn't a ton of business. And then it was just slowly creeping forward. I try and get more people in the door. I had pretty much emptied my bank account at that point. So the money I'd set aside for my personal needs, I guess, like paying rent and things like that, was pretty much gone. Advertising, that was definitely gone. So I was, okay, how do I get the word out on my gym without spending a ton of money? And that's where Peloton came in. Another T-Wall property was down on Park Street. I had seen that throughout the majority of the pandemic, the downtown classes were still full, but all the West Side classes were empty. So like all the suburbs had pretty much emptied out or even closed down when it comes to like the small group classes. I saw that all those younger kids were still 5. Like they didn't give a damn. So they're still working out. And so I thought if I moved to a new location or added a location closer to that population, I could draw from them. And so I worked out a deal with Complex, give me very low to almost no rent in exchange for free access to all your tenants with better equipment, my instruction, my trainers, my classes, redesign of your space, repainting of your space. And they said, yeah. So I took over the second gym, created a class space, started to draw people from that area, which were just younger kids, more likely to work out in a group setting at that time. Mine was still 20, early 21. And then, I saw that it went from, I think they were averaging like 3 to 7 people per day in their fitness space to 20, 30.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it did great.
And so that then became your basically concept that now you're taking to other developers and building owners saying, let me come in, spruce up your gym, add a new little flavor to it.
Yep.
And have it be managed.
Yeah. So one of my, through the artistic side of like who I am, I guess, one of my like qualities is the ability to almost create like puzzle pieces. When I walk into a space, I can see the layout of something to make it as functional as possible. So I can fit a lot of things in a small space. And I took a very small gym and put in $30,000 more of equipment, and it feels almost more spacious than it was before. And like you don't feel like on top of each other. And so I was able to bring in more equipment that more people would want to be able to sell the space, and painted it different colors, added in turf, like just little things that I know are more aesthetically pleasing than the colors and the choices of like fixtures and stuff they had before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the business model now.
And so now how many gyms have you done this with?
So there's 5 now, potentially 6 to 7, number 6 and 7 in the works.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So this is the exciting news that we have for Neutral. So Neutral is going to be partnering with Peter for our fitness centers and all of our properties, and the properties that we have fitness centers. And we're looking at kind of the same concept, but taking a new little twist on it and adding some additional offerings, and then also potentially having a kind of broader brand and strategy around it. But maybe we'll start with first the smaller concept that we're talking about for Baker's Place.
Yeah.
So give us some insight into what you're thinking there.
Yeah. So the model morphed into, I'm now going to new builds and bringing just my expertise in how to set up the gym, what equipment to choose, what's used, what's not, what's a waste of space, what's the best return on your investment. So everybody wants to create an amenity that will make money, not just initially when someone signs their lease, but hopefully long-term. And so I'm hoping to sell each one of these amenity gyms as a revenue generator. Let's bring people into that space off the street to make money. And to me, the only way to do that is to give enough equipment to where the average person feels they can get a full body workout every time they're in there and not get bored over time. So a lot of equipment has multifunctionality, a lot of cable equipment that has pulley systems that can move up and down, turn at different angles. So what we can do is very quickly make one machine in one small space become anywhere from like 20 to 30 machines. Instead of these big box gyms that are doing $4,000 to $5,000 pieces of equipment, single use equipment that take up a ton of space. So I come in and I helped you guys to figure out what's the best layout for this space, where should the equipment go, what kind of flooring do we need, what kind of sound dampering do we need, what type of paint and lighting is attractive to a person in a fitness space versus a yoga space or a reading space or whatever it may be. And then with one of my most recent locations, we started doing hot cold therapies. So I really believe in a more like natural form of health and wellness, trying to stick to the main elements like air, earth, wind, right? Same thing, fire, heat. And so I went with cold and hot therapies. And so we're going to put in what I consider to be the first micro spa in your space, which will be a single occupancy, individually booked. So like someone walks in, they book it and just can access it themselves at any time. It'll be sauna, cold plunge, and steam shower, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and the idea there is basically it's an amenity for the tenants to be able to book through their app, and at any time they'll be able to go down and book it as a kind of mini spa experience, which one of the big things for us when we were assessing like, okay, should we do this financially, is really we were looking at if a tenant is coming into our building and saying, okay, should I live at Baker's Place versus another building downtown, Continental, Nova, one of the other luxury kind of high rises.
Yep.
One of the things we were assessing is, well, if we could offer an additional benefit that they're paying for elsewhere and have it be part of their gross rent with us, that then attributes more capital in their pocket, either back to them or towards the rent that they'd be paying us for their apartment.
Yep.
And so one of the big things is like figuring out the nut to crack, basically, on do we compete with Anytime Fitness or Planet Fitness or one of these other kind of like smaller gyms, not like huge big box. Like we're never going to compete with the big box. Or if you want that experience, sure, you can go pay for it.
Right.
But if you're Anytime Fitness or Planet Fitness, like can we compete with that and offer a differentiated product that's even better than what they're offering? And I think that's what we've kind of curated with you.
Yeah.
Is to be able to do that with tenants. So that's Baker's Place.
Yeah.
Now, Edison is maybe one step further to competing with the big box, and not just the big box of like Princeton Club or Lifetime, but the big box of like Equinox, which for those who aren't familiar with Equinox, I would say it's probably top tier when it comes to gyms.
Yep.
So maybe explain kind of what we're doing in Edison with fitness.
So the easiest way to say it is we're taking the current gym model and we're amplifying it to an amazing level. Like we're going to add a much larger spa space with more treatments. We're going to add a bigger gym space. We're going to have better fixtures and finishes and all that. We have an outdoor patio space. But the idea is to take the business model, which is basically a 24-hour access fitness facility, and then the individual use therapy sessions or sections that are either by like keypad or swipe. We're still trying to figure out the exact details on that. And people have access whenever they want to do a very, like holistic wellness day pass, I guess. Like you're walking in, you do your workout, you go do some stretching, and then you do maybe some recursive therapy, and then you go do some hot cold therapies, and then you go outside into the pool. Or then maybe on the weekends, you're like, I feel more energized. It's a Saturday or Sunday. Let's go out and listen to the live DJ in our bungalow that's set by this pool with this beautiful view of the city in the background. Welcoming, but also fun and exciting and energetic wellness or well-being space. 24-hour access fitness, general fitness being the key focus, and then the additions of the therapies that are more like holistic in their approach. So hots, colds, compression, sound, salt, all the natures of the earth, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing we're also doing is a pretty big class environment. And so something that I've been pretty excited about with Edison is us being able to bring in different like sponsors, basically, like we talked about having like a spin class sponsor for a month. So that basically becomes a spin class environment for the month of January. But then the month of February, we bring in Pilates. The month of March, we bring in yoga. Yeah. But it's basically a versatile classroom for us to have classes and offerings to the tenants. Basically for free for the tenants, and then those who are from the public have to pay for those classes. But that's something that I think when we were at camps, like it was really nice having the classroom setting. But the thing I didn't like about it was the same workout every single time. And so I think having the versatility of the classroom to change workouts season upon season is something that is like critical to actually like really functional fitness. Because if you're running every single day, it's like that's terrible for your body. Terrible. And so I think that's a big selling point for our Edison project. Is that something then that you want to take kind of nationally if it works at Edison to do some bigger gyms across the country?
So the original idea or hope of having a small gym with a small grocery store has amplified into I would love to have a fitness and wellness retreat hotel. And it's a whole, it's all one floor. It's all in one giant circle, and everything is centered around the wellness in the center. It's like everything is based on your general well-being. So it's starting with mind, then body, then soul. It's what you eat. It's what you move. It's how you move. It's sun, the air, it's all of that. And so my hope is to just keep growing in a direction of that. So this one is the first major step towards it. And then if I can open up more of these types of gyms across the country, then all that starts to lead to that. And then we can pull from each one of these places individuals who would go to that retreat. And then that's why I retire. Yeah. But yeah, I would love to make this model so good that we can just pick it up and put it somewhere else. And someone else can say, I want that in my building. I want that in my building. I want that in my building.
All right, let's go on a little bit of a tangent on the hotels, because this retreat sounds pretty cool.
It would be dope.
Yeah. So like, is the concept to have a like cool environment somewhere exotic or somewhere, honestly, no, I'm thinking like out in the middle of the woods,
Out in the middle of the woods. I just realized it there. Basically. I was just up golfing at Sand Valley, and one of their newest courses is called the Lido. It's a private course. They cut down some like 4 million trees and put this incredible golf course.
sounds terrible.
With the baseball. Beautiful golf. And it's just the most stunning golf course, but it's just smack in the middle of what would have otherwise been a giant open pine forest.
Yeah.
And
which we're in favor of pine forests.
okay, you need pine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they you got a little zero here. That's cool. So all of the wood was put back into what they were building.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I'm supportive.
Yeah. All right. So
At least they didn't burn it.
no, I don't think so. Okay. I don't want anybody in trouble. But that is kind of what I see. It's like they're out in what would have otherwise been nothing. No one else wanted land. It's called Sand Valley for a reason. There's tons of sand. But I think it became a place to go. Now, everybody knows what Sand Valley is. Everybody knows what Lido is. It's all the golf magazines. It's rated one of the best in the world. People are flying in from all over the country and the world to go to this space and spend time. And that's what I would want this long-term goal to be. I want it to be out in the middle of the woods. You go up there to be there, and you rejuvenate, you recuperate, you just find yourself again, pretty much, through health, wellness, fitness, but nothing like crazy. Like we're not doing like a cult of any sort. This is just, I know the modalities that can get people back into a centered state through health, fitness, mindfulness, coaching, therapy, things like that. There's no injections, there's no supplements for the most part. It's like proteins and things like that. But that's it.
And so this is basically like a retreat where people go for a week or 2 weeks to like rejuvenate themselves.
That would be awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people crave, because it's like in this world we live in, especially if you're in the city and you're working 60, 70 hours a week. It's like, it'd be nice to have a week where you can go have a reprieve and just focus on like mind, body, and soul, like you said.
There's a lot of trends that are stemming from truth. So the grounding shoes that are everywhere are because there is real benefits to grounding your feet on natural earth, not concrete, not through rubber shoes. There's a connection of energy that is applied to our body like a battery when we touch our feet to earth. There's a real magnetism of large bodies of water. Our body is 73% water. We are naturally connected. Like water will always find water. Why should we believe our bodies are different? We are naturally connected to water. We are scientifically proven to reduce our stress and anxiety when we're around large bodies of water. So now there's all this stuff like water therapies and all that. But the truth is, all of it is stemming from some reality, which is the closer we can get to earth, the closer we can get to our natural being, the better we are likely going to be. So that's where I want these to be, out in the earth, where we can get connected. We can truly like reduce all the stress, which causes inflammation and anxiety and bad sleep and depression. I could just keep going off of that, right, as a tangent, when we live in a city for so long. Mm-hmm. So one thing I really like about what your mind is focus on when it comes to building your buildings is that it's kind of that same theory of getting back to the natural states, I guess, of the world.
Yeah.
And so I would build off of that.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's something that we've talked about a lot, is like looking at all the kind of mainstream or even what's in vogue with fitness right now.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of it is kind of artificial. Like, hey, put a drip IV in your system to get more hydrated.
Yeah.
Well, why can't you just drink more water? It's like,
yeah.
I don't know. You should drink more water.
Well, because that IV is much faster. If you think it just,
But is it that
level? No, it's not at all. In no point in time have we been able to inject something directly into our body without intravenous help. And that is a new technology. Obviously, it's not that new, but it's new as far as the lifetime that humans spend on this earth. So to truly be healthy takes time. Like, you can take a pill, you can take a drug, you can take a supplement, you can lay in the beds that shine your body with red light. There's all these things that you can do. You can wear the goggles and look at the lights that, you know, feel like they're natural sun. All that stuff is something. But in reality, if you just go out and touch earth and look at the sun and get fresh air, you drink good mineral water, not our chlorinated, nasty stuff that comes from the city, but good natural supplementation with the body, good holistic organic fruits and vegetables, beef that was raised off of grass, chickens that eat bugs, that kind of stuff. Like, you are going to be healthy.
And so with your fitness, is your kind of philosophy then on a lot of these more artificial things, like the drip that we're talking about, where I know there's like pills out there that will cure your fatness or obesity, and they'll have a weight loss pill basically. But things like this that are artificial, is your approach rather to be more of I'll call it a purist, and just basically lose the weight by eating less?
I like that, a purist.
And drink water by drinking water instead of putting yourself through IV.
You know, the truth is the fastest route makes the most money. So if you can guarantee,
For you,
no, for like all these supplements and things that are out there, all these, I know, like, what do you want to call it? All these shots and all that stuff that are out there, they're making money because people want to feel better. They want to look better. They want to just be better. And if there's something that can get them there very quickly, it's a lot easier and it's less time consuming. I got a wedding coming up. I need to lose 15 pounds by then, and it's in 3 weeks. I can't do that in a very natural way. So I need some help. All that makes money. So in the society that we live in, like, it comes down to like, I need to make some money. So it's an easy thing to sell. And someone that we both know, I won't say his name, but ran a business and reached out to me saying, hey, I'm selling these fat loss pills. Would you want to put a bigger gym? I'm like, absolutely not. That's just not how I look at the world. I don't want to do it. But it all starts with a mindset. And that's where I think all my training, my gyms start, but maybe it's not as popular. You need to see a mental health coach first and foremost. I recommend that to every one of my clients. Every one of my clients, I try and get into therapy at some point, because if you don't want to do the work, you need to just have that conversation with yourself as to why. Why do I not want to do the work? It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you don't know how. It's not because you don't want to. There's something telling you that you shouldn't, can't, it's too hard, I'm not good enough, whatever it is. And that's where the mental health coach comes in to help you work through that before any other program starts. Otherwise, all of your old habits are going to come right back. So yeah, I think rather than taking the pills and all that, and just saying like, hey, just go do the natural route, let's start with talking about why we can't, stay on track. Why is that something that's really hard for us?
Okay, interesting. So let's go there for a second. So when a client comes to you, and let's just say they're quote unquote 20 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
Maybe they're 40 pounds overweight. But the point being is they want to lose weight, and they want to have more maybe longevity, or they want to get ready for a wedding, or they're doing something that they want to lose the weight.
Yeah.
What's your kind of process and recommendation that you walk them through to be able to do that?
Yeah. I'm very honest with everybody that I meet with. I think that's why I gain a lot of respect from my clients. I'll tell them straight up, if you want to lose weight fast, here's how you do it. I know all those tips and tricks for that, like cutting carbohydrates. You're going to lose weight fast. You want to get ripped for the beach, don't drink water for a day. Like, there are things that you can do very quickly to modify your body's composition fast. That is not long-term healthy or beneficial. And more often than not, when someone does something quick like that, it turns into a complete reversal of it on the opposite end. So a lot of the crash diets lead to major weight gain later on. A lot of the low carb diets lead to major weight gain, and bad habits develop later on. A lot of the diet pills cause for overeating, and then if you ever get off that diet pill because you think you just eat anything, also you gain a bunch of weight. So I tell the very honest truth, which is these are the things that you can do. This is not what I recommend long term, but if this is a quick fix that you need, because that's the mental state that you're in right now, I'm not going to stop you. This is what I've learned in my 17 years in this profession. But then here is where I would start on a more long-term path. I give everybody the number for my coach. I said, this is who I reach out to first. Figure out why this has not worked for you in the last 30 years of effort. A lot of people that are coming in to meet me have been doing this for an extended period of time.
Right.
They've tried it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's not every story is different, but every story is the same. It's like there's always a different specific in the story, but at the end of the day, it didn't work. And if it didn't work, it comes back to itself. Why didn't it work for me? Could be that someone has like a thyroid issue that happens from time to time, but the vast majority of people, it comes down to what's my mindset? How can I change that first?
And so once you walk them through that, well, first, who do you recommend for like the therapy session?
There's like Teresa Apton is her name. Is she like a therapist? She's not a therapist. She is just as qualified, if not more qualified than some of the therapists I've met. So I'm against therapists. She's just fantastic. She's a life coach.
Okay.
She's extremely educated. She's been in the field for 40 years, I want to say. And I met her in 2014 when I moved back to Madison. And I've been using her ever since. Sometimes I use her more, sometimes I use her less.
Okay.
This has been like throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
Business getting murdered. I used her a lot.
For yourself.
Oh, yeah. And so that's another thing. I would never recommend something I wouldn't do myself. And that goes for like shots, injectables, whatever, hormone treatment. I would never recommend it if I wouldn't do it myself. And so I'll tell you the things that I know, but I won't tell you to do it if it's not something I've tried. I've used her hundreds of times. I think she's fantastic. I would never say just go call any therapist, but I would say this is who I think you should talk to.
So there's been some rumors that you're on steroids. Yeah. Can we spell those rumors?
Does it look like I'm on steroids?
Well, you said, you started the podcast with your skinny kid in Germany, and now you're like this huge buff person.
I wouldn't say huge. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, it's like the hardest thing for me is to put on weight. That's another thing too, like weight loss diets. When you eat a very whole, nutritious diet, you can't put on weight. Like it's just not possible.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you gotta eat a lot of carrots.
Yeah, no, and a lot of butter. Oh, man. Yeah. So Teresa,
So you're not inside.
no, sorry. Yeah, it's that actual point. Yeah. I did try a peptide treatment at one point. I wanted to know what it was like, see what it would do.
Yeah.
So peptides, your body.
What are peptides? Just for the audience.
It's basically a hormonal treatment that helps you to increase the rate of growth hormone, I think it is, in your body. And it's injectable, and you do cycles of it, kind of like a steroid is my understanding, but it's safer. And so I tried it for 3 months to see what it would do. And I was just like, this is just not worth the potential long-term risks. I don't see any significant change. I also don't know why I'm doing it at that point, so I should stop. And so after 3 months, I decided I would say that. Yep. I'm trying to think like, what else have I tried? I've done it on the opposite end, where at the age of 19, 20, I was smoking cigarettes, thinking that was what models did. I was like, oh, I need to curb my appetite. I don't want to eat. How do I do that? So I ate lots of sugar-free gum and smoked cigarettes. And I obviously ate food, but not to a healthy level. And the whole path, like the reason why I've gotten to where I am now is because I've tried everything myself and I saw it works. And so when I coach, it's from a point of experience plus education. I can only recommend what I've tried or read. There's a lot of things out there that I don't know. So if it's, I don't know, like a specific nutrient that I don't know much about, I'd say do the research on it. I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to eating a good, clean, natural diet, working out in a specific way, good sleep, using therapy, that's stuff that I focus on.
So let's talk about that. So we talked about mental kind of well-being and how to frame your mind to lose the weight or do whatever your intention is when it comes to working out or just kind of longevity and trying to. What's your framework as far as nutrition and strength training with yourself and also with your clients?
Yeah. Finding things that will bring you some level of enjoyment first. So if you have a struggle getting into the gym, I wouldn't do your most hated exercises. Like, don't go and take a spin class if you hate spin class. If you like strength training, focus on strength training. If you don't like strength training, find a class that maybe has a little bit of strength training. Like, start to ease your way into it. Develop a program that is easy, like SMART goals. You've heard those, right?
Yeah.
It's like specific, manageable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And the reason why you have SMART goals is because if you have too lofty goals with no process to get there, you're never going to get to those goals. So the SMART goals are those small goals. So I want to create a program that is 2 to 3 times a week to start. If I've never done 4, maybe it's twice a week. If I've been consistent twice a week, my next SMART goal is to do 3 times a week. Once I've consistently been doing 3 times a week, okay, that's a pretty good base. So yeah, starting with just very specific small goals. Like when I ran my Ironmans, one thing I would always do is I'd break it into thirds because there's 3 major parts, right? And then each one of those, I would break it into quarters. So in my swim, I knew the 4 buoys that I had to go around, and I would plan each one as the goal. So every time you get to one, you've had one goal already achieved. If I'm already focusing on the 140.6 miles, I'm done at the finish. That's horrifying. But if I focus on 2.4 miles split into 4s, I'm at 0.6 miles each loop. I'm a mini goal, mini goal, mini goal, mini goal on to the next big goal. And that's already 1/3 of the way done through the race. Wow, I feel good that I've done this already. I've only got 2/3 to go. Granted, one of it's a 112-mile spike.
Yeah.
So that was like, I just need to make it to each aid station. And that became my goal. Life is no different. So if it's my long-term goal is to lose 15 pounds, it's not, I'm going to do this 1 pound every week. It's, I know that exercise on a moderate level will lead to 1 pound of weight loss over 6 weeks or 1 week. Depends on what I'm doing, how fast and all that. I will focus on the exercise for that period of time, not the result. So I'm going to focus on having a consistent routine for 6 weeks that will lead to 1 pound of weight loss, goal 1 done. My overall goal is 15 pounds. I need to do that 15 times. And each step along the way, maybe I give myself little rewards that are beneficial to that goal, not, like hampering the goal. And that's what I recommend to my clients. So like, figure out what your big goal is, figure out what a halfway point looks like or a quarter-way point looks like, and then how do I get to that? And then how do I break that up into the daily goals or weekly goals that will get you to it?
And so this is true for nutrition and for strength.
Yeah.
And just kind of general longevity in life.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Big time.
And so for strength, it's more like, hey, if I want to bench press 200 pounds, and then I'm at 150 right now.
Yeah.
It would be more focused on how many times am I going to get into the gym over the next year, let's just say.
Yep.
And break that then into weekly chunks.
Yep.
And just focus on getting to the gym.
Yep.
And the goal will basically be realized if you do those daily habits or weekly habits of getting to the gym.
Yep. Everything you want as a goal, I say reverse engineer it. So like right now, our team is running a half marathon in November. I'm having every single one of the people start with, what is your goal finish? That is your goal finish. Okay, now let's reverse that to see where we have to start. If we're going down by a certain percentage each week, because in programming, you're going up by a certain percentage each week. So let's start at the max, and then let's cut it down by, let's say, 5 to 10% for longest run, and then we slowly break it down by 2 to 3% each week after that. And so at 2 to 3% over 18 weeks, you're now down at, let's say it's not even half of your actual distance that you'll be going at some point. Whereas other people are like, okay, I need to run 13.1 miles at the age of 19. When I decided that for the first time, I went out and ran 12 and then could have walked for 2 weeks afterwards because it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
So like, I wanted to see what I could do. It was not the way to do it. So I very quickly learned, okay, I need to start slow and work my way up to it.
Yeah.
I started the ground floor of my building before I get to the roof.
Yeah. So on that line and kind of train of thought, what is your holistic definition of well-being?
Start from the mind. I think clear mind, clean body, healthy soul. So if you can't get through the day without major levels of stress, you're probably not ready to move on to the next stage of health and wellness, whatever that is, because you'll be fighting against yourself all the time. Like, stress is one of the number one causes of death, in my opinion. It just breaks the body down so much faster. The more stress we put on our body over the longer period of time, the worse our body will do. You got bad sleep. You've got cortisol coursing through your body at all times. Like, we got to reduce stress as much as possible. And that literally starts in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can start there, then it's building health programs after that. Like, if you look at it like a purist, when I look at what we did as humans prior to the Industrial Revolution, like, we didn't have access to food in the way that it is now. We have access to gyms in the way that we do now. Okay, we had to lift the things around us, climb over the things around us, move the things around us. That's how we stayed fit and healthy. We had to eat the foods that were available around us until agriculture became a thing. Then we could grow some foods, but we're potentially, arguably, the healthiest before that as far as what we ate. I think whole foods is the place to start when it comes to our diet. Eating as many whole foods as possible. So single ingredient, it is the ingredient. An apple, an orange, a steak, an egg, fish, a nut, whatever it is. It has to be in its most bioavailable source or form. So
What do you mean by that?
like nuts. Nuts are full of health benefits, but nuts in very high qualities can cause a lot of adverse effects. Like, people get gout from eating too many nuts. People get stomach issues. People get...
Now I'm learning if I should eat less nuts.
Well, that's the thing, right? So then you look at the nut in its most pure form. It isn't a hard shell. A squirrel has adapted over millions of years of evolution, thousands of years of evolution, teeth to break this. It's developed its own little pattern to break the shell because it's so strong. Humans cannot do that without a tool. So we had to develop tools to do this. And so it means that it takes time and effort to eat this one nut, whereas now we're just grabbing a handful at a time. So there's a scoop full of peanut butter, or a scoop full of peanut butter, which is thousands of little peanuts all into one, right? So to me, this is just my own personal opinion on health and nutrition. This is no science basis other than I know what some foods do as a result when consumed in too high of a quantity.
Yeah.
And a lot of those foods come from things that are harder to attain. So if the food is harder to eat, it's probably supposed to be eaten in less quantity. Doesn't mean it's not supposed to be eaten, just less of it. Like, Brazil nuts are extremely healthy, but it's like 2 a day. Anything above that, it can actually cause an adverse effect. So the harder it is to eat it, the less of it we should have. Rice is another example. Rice in its natural state cannot be eaten. It's in a husk. It's hard. You have to mill it. You have to cook it, all that. Same with wheat. That's why we have a gluten intolerance, some of us. Whereas fruits, vegetables, and all that we can just like pick up and eat. Raw meat, you can eat. Raw eggs, you can eat. Raw fish, you can eat. All that kind of stuff is where I shine.
You eat raw eggs?
I don't on a consistent basis, but I've definitely tried it. It's pretty gross. It's like swallowing a huge loogie. But you can...
I hope you're not swallowing it.
I've definitely done it.
So basically just getting back on both a health, fitness, and nutrition to a purest form.
Yeah.
Or,
so to bring that to like the fitness side of it,
yeah.
What does it mean for that is lifting heavy things and moving them in multiple planes of motion with safety and precision, really. It's like I'm not going to try and throw a 100-pound sandbag over my shoulder the first time, but I might try and pick it up, turn, and set it down somewhere else because I'm working on the major joints of my body. I'm also using on some flexion and extension of my spine, some rotation. I'm going to work on the major muscle groups first and foremost. If I have a limited time, I'm going to work on the biggest muscle groups attached to the biggest joints first. Very compound lifts. Mm-hmm. If I have more time, I'll focus on some of the more complementary muscles like biceps, triceps, forearms, abs, shoulders, things like that. And I'm trying to replicate motions that I could have seen myself doing at a time pre-gym equipment. So lifting a tree, lifting a rock, jumping over something, pulling something, picking it up and putting it down, that kind of stuff.
That's a good concept.
But now I do it with really fun, cool, top-of-the-line equipment.
Yeah.
And it looks sexy while doing
it. That's the important. Okay, my last question, because I know we're almost up on time here.
Yeah.
Is what is your weekly kind of routine when it comes to nutrition, strength, health, mind, and body?
Yeah. First thing is I wake up every morning and drink a large glass of mineral water. So I have a mineral supplement. And the reason for the mineral supplement is I drink purified water to try and get rid of all of the impurities. But in that process, all the good stuff gets taken out. Water that comes from a natural spring or from an aquifer is full of minerals. Those minerals are how we absorb the water. They help to reduce muscle tension. They help to keep our heart beating. They help with brain health. They help with proper hydration. Salt is what literally gets water to absorb into your cells. So I want to make sure I have a mineral base to my water. So I'm either purchasing mineral water, or I'm going to an aquifer and taking out mineral water, or I'm taking purified reverse osmosis, high quality water, and I'm adding a mineral supplement to it. And so that's the first thing I do. I have noticed over the years that just from a low, like probiotic and prebiotic type of diet, I needed to start taking a probiotic. So prebiotics are things that are high fiber. Probiotics have living organisms within them. We don't get a lot of that anymore in our diet. And so unless you're eating like a ton of kimchi and drinking kombucha, a lot of it, because there's really not that much in it, you need to take a living, like a live active culture, which is going to be a probiotic. So I take a probiotic on an empty stomach to set my gut right. So that way when I have my foods throughout the day, they digest fully. I then focus on proteins in a very high quantity first and foremost in the day. Carbohydrates are needed on the bigger days. So if I'm doing like a heavy leg day, I'm going for a bike ride or a run, I'll have a little bit more carbohydrate in that day, knowing that I'll be using it for that time. If I am sedentary, if I'm working a desk job that day, I'm working at my computer, I'm doing less carbohydrates. And then I make sure I eat at least 2 more times throughout the day. I might eat sometimes 3 or 4, but I need to get my general range of calories, which is say like 3,500 calories in a day, in those 3 to say 5 meals. If I skip a meal, the next one's bigger. If I skip that meal, the next one's bigger. But my overall calorie intake for that day is always focused around that amount.
And then do you have some sort of like bedtime routine or sleep routine to make sure you're getting adequate and quality sleep?
I wish I could say I had a better one. Yeah. I'm usually on my phone working until the very end of the night, or texting with a friend till the very end of the night. And then it's like, go to bed. And at that point, I'm usually so exhausted, I can just fall asleep. But on the weekends where, I don't have work to do, I should get better at putting the phone down and just going to bed. It does make a big difference. Like that is hands down one of the worst things going on right now.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
It's like he's bashing for you.
It's not any of that. It's people we're all on our phones way too much. And it screws with our sleep, it screws with our anxiety, all of that.
Now, I wish I could say I put my phone down an hour before bed and I read a book and I go to bed nice and quietly, but those are all the things. I don't.
Yeah. I don't think we do.
Working on my computer.
Exactly.
I shower and go to bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The things so this is like what we were saying with my clients, things I can recommend and things that I do, right?
Yeah.
So I can recommend those things, but I can also tell you what I actually do. And the truth is, there are things that you can do to improve your sleep. You can work on your mental stress. So finding things that helps just reduce your like overactive mind. If there's things that do that, warm walks, warm showers, physical touch is great. So if you don't have someone in your life, this can be hard, but if you do, physical touch with your partner is really beneficial. It actually calms your nervous system if you hold on to each other for more than 6 seconds. Physical touch, rubbing each other's backs, things like that, arms, shoulders, whatever. A dog even works. It's the connected energy between two that helps lower our stress. Warm water, cool room. So take a warm shower and then get into a cool room in your sheets. Allow your body to naturally find its set point for temperature. If you take a cold shower, your body will try to heat back up when it gets to bed and will actually have a hard time falling asleep. Warm rooms, harder time falling asleep. You have just a natural response to a cold air climate at night. Like it's your body's signal to relax.
At the Neutral Project, we're not just building structures. We're building a legacy of sustainability, helping align your investments with a sustainable future. We'd like to thank you for being part of this conversation. For more information and to stay up to date on how we're reshaping the future through environmentally conscious development, visit our social media accounts or our website at theneutralproject.com.
PeterKrausFitness.com.
Thanks again for tuning in.
We still have an Instagram on
and
there.
we'll see you next time on the Neutral Podcast.
Or you can stop in. There's 5 locations in Madison right now that you can stop into.
Or you can rent an apartment at Baker's Place, and then you get a free membership to Peter Kraus Fitness, and you can learn all the different cryotherapies that we're going to be doing, or hot cold therapy.
Hot cold therapy.
We don't have cryo.
We don't want cryo.
We're going to be doing maybe cryo here and I are arguing about it at Edison, but we do have a cool plunge and hot nice sauna at Baker's Place. But thank you for joining, everyone. Glad to have you on, and we'll see you next time on the Neutral Podcast.